Hello, my dear friends. I finally caught my luck by the tail. Several months of hunting for a small but very tricky fish. For me, it was my first experience in chasing trout, and catching them became my obsession. For several days, I studied the river, water currents, rapids and whirlpools to find the place where my long-awaited trophy was hiding. Tested a lot of baits, trollers, and artificial insects. Even the worm on the hook went into action. Mate trial throws spinning. And finally, this moment happened. The long-awaited fish got on the hook. Today I want to tell the story of how my hunt for wild trout took place and share my experience of how to catch it and on what fishing tackle. Early morning, fresh air. Light fog is drifting over the water. I am standing on the bank of a small river, which winds among rocks and greenery. The banks are overgrown. The current is not very fast. At times like this, you feel nature breathing around you. The river is narrow here. The fast rapids are replaced by quiet stretches where I knew trout could be standing. I always take with me a light spinning rod with a test up to 5 to 10 grams, because in such rivers fishing requires delicacy. My reel is light, with a thin line, and at the end of it is a spinning troll, one of my favorite trout baits. Step by step, I make my way along the river. I pass rocks and rapids, listening to the sound of the water. The main thing in trout fishing is the ability to approach the fish unnoticed. Fish are very cautious and fearful, especially in the clear waters of mountain rivers. I move against the current so that the fish does not notice my approach, because usually it stands with its head to the stream, waiting for food. The first promising channel. The water here calms down after the rapids. The depth is a little more than a meter, and in the shadow of large rocks can lurk trout. I carefully make a throw, allowing the troll to pass along the water's edge, where the current is slower. The troll begins its game, and then I feel a sharp strike. I sharply hook up, and immediately feel the fish beating on the other end of the line, trying to escape to the shelter of the rocks. This is classic trout behavior. It immediately rushes to the side, trying to free itself. Adrenaline starts to rise, but experience tells me how to act. I take my time, keeping the line taut, allowing the fish to tire. After a few minutes of struggle, the trout starts to weaken. I bring it closer to the shore, and having lowered the net into the water, I carefully take the trophy. In my hands I have a beautiful trout, about 700 grams, with bright red spots on the sides. I admire its colouring, feeling satisfied that I managed to catch such a fish in its natural environment. But the day doesn't end there. I move further up the river. There are still some great spots ahead. Probably there is another trophy fish waiting for me there too. Small rivers and mountain streams require constant attention to each throw. You need to feel the water and fish. Sometimes catching goes on small wobblers, sometimes on dry flies, if the day is quiet and windless. As evening twilight begins to descend on the mountains, I know it's time to head back. With a backpack full of impressions, I head back to camp, knowing that every such fishing trip is a separate story, a unique experience that I want to repeat again and again. Choosing where to fish for trout is one of the most important aspects of successful fishing. This fish is characterized by caution, so you need to be able to not only choose the right tackle and bait, but also find the right place on the river. Here are a few key points that I focus on when looking for promising areas on small and mountain rivers. What to catch trout on? Spinning for trout fishing. For trout fishing, you need to choose a light or ultralight spinning rod. There are two main types of rods. Area: soft spinning rods with a regular structure. Stream: spinning rods with a stiffer blank and power reserve. Classic area spinning rods have a slow line and on the fish catching work with the hole blank, mainly created for trout fishing in ponds. They are very popular and have a number of features. Due to the softness of the blank, reduces the number of breakdowns, as sometimes beardless hooks are used in fishing. Maximum pleasure when fishing and delicate work with small baits. These spinning rods are originally designed for fishing with miniature baits and have tests up to 5 grams. Stream spinnings were created for trout fishing in rivers with currents and have a stiffer blank. In trout fishing, they also allow you to work with small baits, but have a power reserve and a larger test up to 10 grams. Due to the structure, new types of animation become available. It is a light twitching and controlled tosses of soft baits in the bottom area. Throwing with these spinning rods turns out to be more accurate and also increases the sensitivity of the blank due to the greater modularity of carbon fiber. Stream spinning rods are convenient to catch other fish, chub, perch. The rods also allow you to comfortably catch twitching and crankbaits on the current. Line. When spinning trout fishing, you can use monofilament and braided fishing line. Monofilament is the preferred line, although braided is more sensitive, but in this case, the more important parameter will be the stretchability, which is well possessed by monofilament. When the trout attacks the bait on the braided line, it feels the unnaturalness of its prey. When using a monofilament line, this disadvantage is eliminated, and the fish can attack several times the bait offered to it. Lures for trout fishing. Spinning trout fishing involves a huge abundance of different types of baits. It can be noted that the most popular are oscillating and spinning trollers, as well as wobblers. Blades for catching trout. Wheels and spinners are excellent for active trout in the warm season. They should be small in size and have a stable game. Fluctuating trollers fly well, quickly immerse in the water, perfectly play on fast and medium wiring. Spinning trollers are considered the most universal baits for trout. The colors are dominated by bright and natural tones: yellow, red, pink, silver, acid, and under the color of various insects. Wobblers for trout most often have the form of a crank or shed. They look like a rounded fish of small size. In the arsenal of baits, it is necessary to have sinking and floating models, so that it was possible to perform wiring in any horizon of the reservoir. Wobbler is good that it can be stopped in the water column in one place, and with sponges and silicone lures cannot do so. On a very slow wiring, a trolling rod will not be able to play and provoke a trout, and the wobbler is able to move very slowly. Such a feed is very effective in cold water when the trout is inactive. Silicone lures. On-silicone lures are caught to a lesser extent, but they can also help in certain conditions. The situation in favor of silicone changed after the products created specifically for trout fishing began to appear. Better work all sorts of lures with legs, claws, flexible tails, and just with a voluminous corrugated body. Some minimum assortment should be in the arsenal of spinning. Variations in current velocity. Trout prefer areas with variable currents. Fast rapids and waterfalls saturate the water with oxygen, while calmer swims and pools give the fish a chance to rest while waiting for food. Most often trout stand on the border of these two zones, closer to the slow current, where they can quickly grab the prey passing by and immediately go into hiding. What do trout look for? Areas of the river where the current slows down after rapids or waterfalls. Transitions from fast to calm water. This is where fish often hide. Deep areas below rapids, where trout wait for prey brought in by the stream. 2. Shady places and hiding places. Trout prefer areas where there is cover from the sun and potential predators. Shade and shelters give her a sense of security. These can be overhanging tree branches, large boulders, or areas where the river erodes the bank to form niches. What to look for? Undermined banks where the current has washed out small depressions. Shady areas under trees or shrubs. Rocks and boulders in the water, behind which trout hide from the current and predators. 3. Deep pools and holes. Depth is important for trout, especially when fishing during the day when fish are more cautious. Deep pools or holes provide trout with a safe place to rest. This is where it can stand, waiting for moments to surface for food. What to look for? Deep places below waterfalls or rapids. Local depressions in the river. Pits near channel constrictions where the current slows down. 4. River turns. Two zones are formed at river bends, one with a fast current, where the water hits the bank, and the other with a calmer flow. In such areas, trout usually stand on the quiet side, waiting for the current to bring them food. These spots are always promising for fishing. What to look for? Smooth bends in the river, places where the fast current changes abruptly to a slow current. Cover on the inside of a bend where the current is less intense. 5. Places with oxygen. Trout are fish that like cold, oxygenated water. Fast mountain rivers, rapids, waterfalls, and rolls are usually oxygen-rich, making them ideal for trout life. It's important to keep in mind that in hot weather, fish go deeper where water temperatures are lower and oxygen is more plentiful. What to look for? Rivers where the water is bubbling and oxygenated. Places with cold tributaries where water temperatures are lower. Transitions from rapids to deep pools. 6. Low-key places and quiet. Trout do not like fuss and loud noises. Quiet, remote sections of the river are ideal places to fish. This is especially important in areas where the river is small and clear. Trout can scare away any unnecessary noise. What to look for? River sections away from hiking trails and roads. Low human activity, minimal noise. Calm water away from large rapids. 7. Time of day and season. Trout behave differently depending on the time of day and season. Fish are more active in the morning and evening because the sun is not too high yet and the water is cool. In the spring and fall, fish are more likely to go into shallow water, while in the summer they prefer to go deep and in the shade. What to consider? Morning and evening are the best times to fish when trout are out feeding. In the summer, look for deeper shaded areas. In spring and fall, you can fish closer to shore, especially if the water is cool. So, let's summarize. The main thing in trout fishing is the ability to find areas with variable currents, shelters, and enough oxygen in the water. Knowing the features of the river relief, the right approach to the choice of location, as well as attention to the behavior of fish in different seasons will greatly increase the chances of success. Each river is unique, and the right choice of location comes with experience. However, by following these principles, you can significantly increase your chances of catching this wary and intelligent fish. Conclusion. Once again, let's emphasize the basics of trout fishing. 1. The tackle. Spinning, for pond trout, a soft area, spinning rod. For brook trout, hard stream. Reel, lower gear ratio, less than 4.8 to 1. Quality backstop and good line laying. The line is monofilament because of its good extensibility. 2. Lures for trout fishing. Oscillating and rotating blades of small sizes of bright and natural colours. Wobblers for trout are usually small crankbaits and sheds. The advantage over other baits is that they can play on the slowest wires. Silicone lures are better to choose with claws, legs, or volumetric shape with a fluted body. 3. Where to look for trout? Fallen trees in the water, places with stony bottoms. Fish move around the water body and can feed in different layers of water. 4. When fishing, keep quiet. The sun should not shine in the back of the fisherman. Feeding bait should be silent. You should react quickly to a bite. Have a good fishing, my friends.